Hi, good afternoon to everybody, and thank you so much for joining us. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce Troy this afternoon. I got asked to moderate this session last week, and I have crippling anxiety about public speaking, but because it was Troy, there's no way I could turn this down. My name's Sarah. I'm one of the co-owners of GameOn, a B2B PR agency, and we've been working with SGG Media for about 18 months now. And the astronomical rise and build of this business has been nothing short of amazing. But I would say that because I am his PR representative. Yeah. Right, so before this session, we had a bit of a chat. Then we had an arm wrestle as to who was going to say the big numbers, and I won. So just to give you a little bit of context, over the last 4 years, SGG Media has built up a network of over 2,000 micro-influencers. Those 2,000 influencers have now amassed a 60 million audience of 19, 20-year-old to 40-year-old.
21 to 40.
Yeah. So if you're a casino operator or a sports betting operator or even a game studio sitting here, I think you're going to learn quite a lot. Also, because we'd like this to be quite engaging, and if you've got any questions during the sessions, don't wait until the end. Put your hand up, we'll get a mic to you, and please just ask us anything that we're talking about if you want to know a bit more. So from the beginning, Can you tell us more about SGG Media and your journey?
Yeah, thank you so much for the warm introduction, Sarah, and thank you to you guys being here today. Just to provide a little more clarity on the background of SGG, we're a sports media and influencer agency with a focus on micro-influencers. So when you think of us, think of the little guy, not the ex-athlete, not the celebrity, but the everyday sports fan who grew up in Pittsburgh, we'll say, and was a massive Steelers fan. So they went out and they created a Twitter or an Instagram or a TikTok page solely to post Steelers content. And although they may be relatively small with 20 or 30,000 followers, SGG began to aggregate dozens of these accounts representing different sports markets and different teams. And slowly we went from dozens of accounts to hundreds of accounts. And to date now, we represent just over 2,000 of these sports micro-influencers that, like I said, they average a following of 15,000 to roughly 50,000 followers, but collectively, our entire network just surpassed 60 million in total reach.
So how do you identify the influencers in the first place? We've had comments from Brian Christopher from BC Ventures, Stephen from Rivalry, talking about authenticity and making sure that the community believe in what you're saying. So how do you find the right influencers that are going to work with you across the different operator brands you're working with?
Yeah, a lot of trial and error. The start wasn't easy. You see followers and you think, okay, they have reach, but that doesn't necessarily mean so. Their engagement may be poor, or the fans that they're targeting are not the exact type of individual that an operator is looking to reach. So it was really just a lot of trial and error, a lot of checks and balances, a lot of testing, a lot of failing. And over time, we started to form a model of, okay, these are the type of influencers we want to be working with. This is the type of engagement we want to be seeing. And what's so unique about regional and small influencers is that if you're working with an ex-NFL player or celebrity, they're fantastic for the branding. They have such incredible reach, and it gives you a face behind what you're working on. But people follow, I don't know, take Logan Paul. People follow Logan Paul. Some people followed him because he was a YouTuber. Some people followed him because he's a boxer. Some people followed him because of WWE. Some people followed him because they loved his girlfriend. So when you're a company with a product and you're looking to target a specific demographic, it may not be super cost effective to work with a major influencer. But when you're working with a Pittsburgh Steelers-based account, you know who's following them. It's diehard Steelers fans. It's diehard football fans. It's people who probably, for the most part, live in Pennsylvania. People who are probably interested in other Pennsylvania sports. So it's really enabled us to get extremely targeted and niche in the campaigns we're running when we have them across the U.S.
But do you think that some operators are still overlooking the power of micro-influencers and still looking for that sexy celebrity name?
Some. I mean, there's an educational aspect. I think that the idea of regional influencers has become more of a norm over the last few years. Like when we first launched the company, most operators didn't even know that they existed, let alone how do I leverage them or how can I use them effectively. We've had a lot of great relationships with many of the operators and been very successful, but that doesn't mean we're working with everybody, and it doesn't mean it's also a right fit for everybody. It's just a game of constantly evolving that's really the media landscape as a whole. It's always evolving. It's always changing. So making sure that we're one step ahead of that as much as we can be, and just doing our due diligence to make sure that we're continuing to provide value for our partners.
Yeah. So at the RG Symposium yesterday, we got talking quite a lot about affiliates and the role that they play, as do every sector of the industry in responsible gambling. Do you think, or how do you work with your influencers to make sure that they adhere to RG for your operators?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy, especially when you're doing it at scale. Managing one big personality content creator is hard enough. Now trying to manage 2,000, it presents other challenges. So it's really been a system of checks and balances, and there's an educational aspect that we have to teach an influencer when they come on board of, hey, this is okay to post, and this is an area you don't really want to be, and this is how you include the right T&Cs, and this is how you include the link correctly. There's still mistakes when you're working at scale. You're going to run into some issues, but I think just coaching the influencers up a little bit and always being there to answer questions has helped. We've also had a great partnership in the last 12 months, so it's relatively new, with a company, Cloud Campaign, which has allowed us to basically take like an administrative access to some of our better influencers' accounts, which allows us to actually create the content on our end internally, and then we can still distribute through hundreds of accounts simultaneously. So on the RG side, limiting the number of areas where things can go wrong and an image can be presented incorrectly is key. And that partnership with Cloud Campaign has been really helpful for us to control, I guess, the distribution of content.
For sure, it's education. So I'm really glad that the Playstar guys are still in the audience, because we're going to touch on the recent collaboration with Playstar, who are operating out of New Jersey, and you've just launched Casino Stream. Can you tell us a bit more about that, please?
We did. So what's unique about working with a lot of smaller influencers is that there's an opportunity to actually build and create media around them and have them be the centerpiece of that. And because we've been in the space for so long, we've made so many different relationships with different types of hosts, different types of content creators, different types of personalities. We've wanted to work in the iGaming space for a long time, and we've wanted to have an angle. Luckily, the Playstar guys came along. We had a couple chats about really the Twitch live streaming landscape of iCasino and what's next to come with Twitch banning all of the gray market type crypto operators. There was all this demand for casino content, but there really wasn't supply because very few companies had the access to influencers to be able to create shows and live streaming content and then do it right, be able to do it with responsible gaming involved and with the right licenses. So we've been working on this for quite a while with the Playstar team, and we're happy to say that we actually launched our stream as of last week with 3 influencer hosts as the streamers themselves. So it's live on Twitch 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 8 p.m. And it's really fun, slots content, blackjack content, roulette, anything you're looking for in the casino space in terms of entertainment, it's going to be there. So.
But similarly to you having to adhere to the operators that you're working with and meeting their brand guidelines, similarly, you are introducing them to your communities, right? So there has to be a trust element there. And I'm going to go to maybe more of a retention perspective. And I guess, John, I'm going to pick on you slightly here. Is there, because this could be just a yes or no answer, is there a difference in your retention strategies from an operator working with people like Troy and the community that he's bringing versus a traditional SEO affiliate?
Short answer, no.
Or we don't know yet?
There are different nuances to it as we're learning as we go through.
Okay. Okay.
It's a new product.
I was just interested to know.
A lot to be discovered, for sure.
Because what we're also finding with other streamers, particularly in Europe at the minute, they're now collaborating very closely with casinos and with game studios and creating their own gaming content, their own casino content. Is that something that you can imagine yourself doing in the future?
Yeah, that's the goal. And that's what's great about having such a, I guess, diverse distribution network of different types of personalities and different demographics that we can reach, is that we can pair the right content creator with the right products, whether it's casino content or sports gambling content. And what's really unique about the US as opposed to Europe is, especially on the casino in the casino space, it's a state-by-state basis. It's really the second inning. There's only 4 states that have maybe it's 5, that have legal licensed casino operations even available to be licensed. So how do you market that cost effectively? How do you target people in New Jersey for a New Jersey-based casino? And what our solution to that has been is, hey, let's take some of the major influencers in New Jersey who have a New Jersey following. Let's make them the host of the show. Let's make them the personality that's spinning the slots and playing the casino games. But then what we're doing with Playstar is we're able to take that content when it goes to social, and we're able to transcribe it and repurpose it, and then we can distribute it through our New Jersey and our New York-based influencers. So the New York Jets fan account 123 can repost our casino content and I guess start the buzz solely in New Jersey, targeted at New Jersey residents that, hey, the show is here and you should get to watch. It's pretty fun.
But let's stick with content a second, because you've also just signed a deal with the Pro League Network. So this is, in short, a sports media entertainment company, and its portfolio of sports features World Putting League, the Car Jitsu Championship, and Slap Fight Championships. Yeah. So in terms of content, is your audience also looking for very diverse or very different content? Or again, are you just finding your feet and just trying to find out what works?
Well, the PLN's content speaks for itself. If you haven't watched Car Jiu-Jitsu yet, you just need to watch 30 seconds of it, and I promise you'll be hooked. You'll probably want to bet on it like me. But there's a whole new world right now of, I guess, innovative sports and new leagues and new types of challenges. And on the wagering side, there's new sports to be able to bet on and to get involved with. And the PLN has done an incredible job of creating a diverse subset of new leagues and new forms of entertainment. For our job, it's really been, okay, how can we put this in front of the audiences? How can we get people to actually watch Car Jiu-Jitsu? Because it sounds crazy, but you watch it for 30 seconds and I promise you'll be hooked. So that's been a challenge for us of, hey, like which personalities, which content creators do we pair this with, and start to create that buzz about, hey, these sports are new and they're here to stay. So it's been an exciting
I can't wait to watch Slap Fight Championship. I can't.
I'm telling you, you're going to want to bet on it.
I'm so going to, YouTube after this. So are there certain criteria that you need to be meeting with the brands rolling out particular types of content?
In terms of just the content?
Different types of content, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, every company has a different product and they have different needs. So it's discovering not only what those KPIs are that we're trying to hit, whether it be performance marketing, we're trying to get new users to register and deposit, or many companies are looking for branding. They want to make their product or their sport or whatever it is, they want to make it cool. They want to make it interesting. So completely different routes you would take with the content you're actually creating. And then which influencers are you using, depending on what we're looking to, what the goal is, what are we trying to get across here. So
in the last 4 years, you've amassed an audience of 60 million. What does the future look like in the next year? Because I've seen this accelerate really quickly in the last year and a half. We're talking at 25 million, and now it's up to 60 million. How much quicker are you going, and what does that market look like?
Yeah, it's not only about the number of content creators that we can work with or anybody can work with, or even the size of their following, or 60 million sounds like a big number. It's really about what platforms are we bullish on. And the media landscape is in a constant state of flux. Like what was producing and converting even 12 months ago compared to now, in most cases, has changed dramatically. So for us and our goal, it's always to try to be one step ahead and be looking at the market and be looking at what platforms are growing and where do we want to be signing our accounts. Because small micro-influencers, they're popping up every day. And they're not only popping up in the sports space, they're popping up in the food space and the fitness space. So it's always kind of being aware of the changing environment. I'm personally super bullish on live streaming, which is why we launched a live streaming show. But I think that live entertainment where fans can actually sit there and be present with their favorite influencer, their favorite hosts, and chat with them and ask questions. It's grown tremendously in the last 12 months. I personally believe it's really just getting started, that you're going to get to the point where you're watching your favorite sports game or your favorite casino streamer, and you're able to talk with them. You're able to be there in real time and see what it's like. So that's an area that we're looking to on how we can continue to expand.
But when we're talking about your audience, I think I'm making an assumption that we're mostly talking about men who have an interest in sport. And Neve hosted a fireside chat earlier, which was fantastic, by the way, on women in sports and that growth area. Do you see more of your community being built up around women and engaging women more in terms of your streaming community?
Yeah, it's definitely a priority for us. The majority of our sports accounts demographics are males, ages 21 to 40. But yeah, there's a huge demographic in there for operators, and especially on the casino side. 40% of casino players aren't male; they're female, and it's also not necessarily such a young demographic. It's not people in their 20s; it's people in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s that enjoy online casino playing. So trying to figure out how can we hit that market, how can we supply influencers for that niche is something that's a huge priority to us. The casino space, we're toying with some ideas of potentially some female hosts, getting them involved. Yeah, it's definitely an area that there's an audience there for it. It's just really finding out which influencers and content creators hit that niche.
Yeah, and as yesterday at the RG Symposium, again, there was a lot of talk on ESG strategies. And if you're going to be working with operators, particularly those that have IPO'd as an example, and they're looking at their suppliers, they're going to want to know that your ESG strategy is in play too, and that will, of course, include diversity and inclusivity from your side. Awesome. So we've got a couple of minutes left. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask Troy whilst we're here?
How many micro-influencers do you need to make an influencer?
That's a great question. It's not as many as you think. One account on their own has value. The problem is when you're a large-scale company, you just have too much on your plate than to manage one account and make sure that they're doing things the correct way. But you're looking at specific regions and areas. If you took the 7 largest Pittsburgh Steelers or hockey influencers and put them together, all of a sudden you have a great means to spread the word to people in Pennsylvania about whatever your sports betting or sports product is. So it can be as little as 3. It's just a question of how specific of a market are you trying to target. And then that's how you decide how many influencers you're going to need in their following.
Sure, I know how we've done it with Playstar in terms of making sure that the influencers aren't only just the star of the show, but actually get the balance there, that they're not totally associated with the show, so that actually there's a bit of flexibility around the influencers. How do you see that going forwards with your other streams and your other platforms, so that actually you're selecting the right influencers for that content, but at the same time they're not totally married to have that flexibility around the show?
Yeah, I think it's a trial and error thing. We just launched our first product, and we have some fantastic personalities and big hosts on the live streams. But over time, we're going to see which ones audiences can convert better than others, and which ones can really run with the role of being a live streaming personality. Not everyone can do that. You have to be comfortable with kind of talking to yourself for 8 hours. So I think as casino streaming as a whole expands, you're going to see a lot of different personalities, and when we have more data points, we're going to see which ones really fit the mold of the kind of personality and the kind of host that we're looking for.
What do you think about AI influencers? I mean, it's kind of trending right now.
AI influencers, as a,
Really like a persona, and then,
yeah, it's even if you look at the YouTube space, and a lot of the YouTube videos that we watch every day now, they're not even produced by a human. It's an AI overview of the voice, and then the visuals are created from that. So it's emerging, and it's here to stay. I think utilizing it in the content you're creating, we've started to do that, where when we're creating campaigns, not everything needs to be done by hand. You can optimize it, and you can use AI to generate different types of content and then distribute it. But AI itself, as content creators and in the influencer space, it's here to stay, and it's going to continue to grow. But I see no problem with that. As long as it's great content that people enjoy and it's being done a proper way, it shouldn't matter if it comes from a human or a robot, as weird as that is to say.
Fantastic. And you're going to be so happy that we got AI into that conversation again. What's that, 6 for 6, 7 for 7?
Yes. You had to hit the buzzword. So.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us, and thank you very much, Troy, for the chat.